Hello everyone. Now in the US, the case of confirmed coronavirus has been growing with exponential rate. Very conservatively, there are more than 43,000 and more than 500 for the death toll. All of the 50 states in the US has found the coronavirus confirmed case. And more importantly, from different states and different county and city, we are seeing the capacity for medical system has been running into a big trouble. In finance, we often call a system have a bank run risk, which is when the bank doesn't have enough financial reserves and the panic comes in, or people all go to the bank for their withdrawing their deposit, it will cause a risk of bankruptcy for the bank. What we are seeing right now is considered as hospital run. That is when the panic of this coronavirus is causing the capacity of hospital and medical system is not sufficient. We are seeing a very real risk of this medical system is on the edge of a crisis. There's a recent report from Bloomberg. According to the report, in the US, there are only 2.8 hospital beds for every 1,000 people. This is not even comparable to the 3.2 beds in Italy, and only half of the bed amount in France, and only 1/3 of the beds amount in Japan. And we all know that US is not always like that. About half century ago, in the late 1950s, there are more than 9 beds per 1,000 people. It's not because at the time there are more sick people. It's like a very healthy, financially healthy bank. They are going to keep enough surplus, reserve surplus, for this type of panic period. At the moment, in the 1950s, there are a lot of surplus in the medical system. For example, from 1945 to 1983, the U.S. medical beds has only 75% of usage rate. So the other 25% is surplus for this type of panic event. And this type of surplus has been proved to be useful in reality. For example, in 1957 and 1958, the winter of that 2 years, in the US, there's outbreak of a big influenza, which is the most severe one since the 1918 Spanish flu. However, because of the surplus in the medical system, at that time, the medical system can handle the situation pretty well. Even when this big influenza hit New York, one of the major metropolitan areas, New York has sufficient amount of medical beds to handle this crisis situation. During 1960s and 1970s, in the US, the medical beds keeps growing up. We have more than that. And coming with this increasing number of medical beds is, of course, an increasing amount of medical cost and also the burden to the government for Medicare. So from 1983, the US Congress passed a bill to adjust this medical reimbursement system. And from there on, the hospitals start to focus more on efficiency and start to cut out those unnecessary surplus beds. So at the beginning of 1990s, the beds per 1,000 people has been halved from 9 beds per 1,000 to about 4.5. And those non-profitable hospitals, especially the one who has to run with a very expensive ICU devices, are disappearing. According to the Bloomberg report, from 1997 to 2004, about 12% of 24 hours emergency room in the US are closed up. Accordingly, the remains or the leftover emergency room are becoming more efficient and also more drama. When the amount of medical beds are reduced, it's becoming even more challenging to get medical care. Adding on top of that, the US population is increasingly aging, and the baby boomer are, getting retired in the recent years. So there is a huge need for medical system services. More than that, about 35% of doctors, they are 60 years old and older. That is about 35% of the doctor, they are baby boomers, and they will retire. So now we have a perfect storm of four factors. Number one is we have reduced number of medical beds. Number two, we have increased the number of patients. Number three, we have a very, very expensive medical tuition. And also the last one, very long, and everyone knows that a very long study period to become a doctor. So in the mid of 2000s, the American Association of Medical College have already seen this potential crisis and called for that. However, just right before the outbreak of this coronavirus in the US, on February 4th, 2020, there's a report on ABC. The title is Doctor Shortage, a Looming American Health Crisis. So now the gap in the US for doctors is about 15,000. And if you consider the increasing number of population and the aging population, the gap will be about 50,000 by 2030. And of course, it's obvious that the smaller the city is, the more rural area it is, the gap is bigger and the problem is also bigger. Try to fill up that gap. The U.S. has been recently tried to allure medical school students from international countries, and also whoever the U.S. doctor is living in the other countries to come back to the U.S. For the system. A lot of people like the show ER and also Grey's Anatomy. Those stories happen in this big backdrop. On the other side, the medical system has been trying to learn from Walmart and Amazon, learning about their zero inventory experience. And they try to make their medical inventory also be on the same pace of the demand, which means the storage for the medical devices and the medical stuff are very limited, including what is needed for this medical face mask and respiratory devices during this financial crisis. When I was in my doctor program, I also learned a lot about this optimization courses. I was thinking at the time, making zero inventory during the supply chain is interesting and is super nice. Now, if you reflect on that, the short-term optimization is at the cost of long-term disruption. In Colorado, we are seeing that people are asked to stay at home and also donate face masks to hospitals because many of the hospitals will run out of those medical devices in just a number of days. A lot of our medical personnel will become soldiers on the battlefield without a weapon. And we have learned at CSU, some people from the medical hospital get a confirmed case, which is the first one in our university. When this crisis is becoming more severe, and also when the medical system is becoming inefficient, a lot of places is ordering this stay-at-home order. So if you don't have essential needs, do not go out. California was one of the first to have this, and I learned from my friends in California that one of her friends, and they are hiking in the mountain, and they met another family that they know, and they talked to each other and was penalized by the police for $400 per family. And I was surprised at the time. I was saying it was used to be speeding ticket, now it's speaking ticket. And now we are also have the same similar stay-at-home order. and the civil penalty can go up to $999. I was having a Zoom meeting with my advisor, and he mentioned a story when he was very young. They go to a tomb place, and he was asking why on those tombs they are all saying they are died in 1918. His mom said 1918 is the year of Spanish influenza, and those family, all of the members died that year. It make me have a lot of goosebumps when I hear that story. And of course, after that, we are talking about this financial market. Within just 2 weeks of time, the U.S. market has evaporated about 1/3 of the market cap. And last week is the biggest 1-week drop since 2008. We are seeing this real economy is getting into recession. The only thing to debate about is how much. Goldman Sachs said it's going to drop about 24% in the second quarter. Morgan Stanley said it's about 30%. And Federal Reserve, the St. Louis president James Bullard said the unemployment rate in the second quarter can go as high as 30%, and the GDP can have a 50% drop. So in the next few days, when we have the economic indicator came out, we're going to see how severe this thing can go. The Atlantic even reported that this is not even an economic recession. This is SH. Because 23 months after the 1929 recession, the unemployment rate rise to 9.9%, and we already be there in just a matter of few weeks. Just 2 weeks ago, on that Monday, the whole Colorado has only 400 people claim for unemployment benefit, and last Tuesday, that number goes to 6,800. A little bit more populated California, the people claim for unemployment benefit goes from 800 people to 18,000 people, and the other states follow the same suit. When the crisis of this coronavirus crisis is coming in quickly, the financial aid from the government is still kind of being slow. On Sunday night, even though the debate goes to the late night, the two parties didn't make agreement on this could be $2 trillion financial aid plan. Democratic is prefer more benefit for those people who could be losing their job or losing their income, and Republican star Senator Rand Paul get confirmed with coronavirus and also shrink the gap between Republican and Democratic in the Senate. So the deal didn't get passed in the Senate, and after that on Sunday night, the Dow Jones Index future dropped by 5% and triggered that circuit breaker, the limit down. The second vote happened on 15 minutes after the market opened. At 9:45 on Monday morning, it failed again, and the market plummeted after that. When the market is waiting for good news from the Congress, the Federal Reserve provides some rescue. Now, the Federal Reserve is going to do unlimited quantitative easing. They're going to buy municipal bonds. They're even going to provide facility to corporate and small business. But those plans didn't stop the market bleeding on Monday. The market dropped by 3% yesterday and went up today on the hope of this stimulus plan. But Wall Street Journal said the worst today has not come yet. That's all for today. Thanks for your attention. I'll see you next time.